One day, Thomas and Mavis were talking nervously to each other.
Please be careful, Thomas, about that cliff there. It's really high.
Thanks for warning me, said Thomas nervously. And he chuffed nervously away. Later, Thomas told Oliver all about it at the junction. Mavis warned me about that high cliff there. Please be careful, Oliver, said Thomas nervously. Oh dear, said Oliver. Thanks for letting me know. Then Thomas puffed on. Thomas arrived at the yard to collect some heavy loads. He shunted them in place, and then he pulled them to go do his job. Later, Thomas was approaching the hill. The load was very heavy. Thomas panted and pushed. Oh, this load is too heavy. Oh, he panted. At last, he reached the top. Phew, I made it, he panted. Then there was trouble. The load started pulling Thomas down the hill. Help, 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 cried Thomas. I can't stop. Thomas whooshed right by Stanley. Stanley was surprised. Oh dear, Thomas, don't worry, I'm coming to help you. Then Stanley raced to the rescue. The points were not set, and Thomas diverted into a track where the cliff was. Thomas banged the buffers, and then his truck started falling off the cliff one by one. The first couple of cars already fell down from the cliff. Now, Thomas was with only one car. Oh dear, no. Help, help, cried Thomas. The driver and fireman jumped out. No, then Thomas fell down right off the cliff. Bust my buffers, cried Thomas. How am I going to get back up there? Then Stanley arrived. He screeched to a stop. Oh dear, Thomas, cried Stanley. Are you all right? I think so. Don't worry, said Stanley. I'll go and get help. And Stanley chuffed away to go get help. Then later, the whole rescue crew came to help Thomas. It took a while, but Rocky helped Thomas back up. Then Rocky lowered Thomas onto Henry's flatbed. Then Henry took Thomas to the repair yard. Later, Henry saw Timothy and Percy on the other track. They were both very surprised to see Thomas on Henry's flatbed. Oh dear, Thomas, said Timothy. What happened to you? Did you get into an accident? Asked Percy nervously. Yeah, I fell right off the cliff, said Thomas sadly. Oh dear, Thomas, said Timothy. That's awful. I hope you're going to be okay, said Percy nervously. And he was very worried about Thomas.
Don't worry, boys. Thomas is going to be A-okay.
This made Percy feel much better. Then Henry chuffed on to take Thomas to the repair yard. Thomas sat at the repair yard feeling very sad. His accident reminded him of the time when he fell into the cavern. Thomas remembered the time when he fell down into a cavern. Man, I remember the day when I fell down that cavern and discovered the pirate ship, he huffed sadly to himself. Meanwhile, Stanley and Ryan were taking turns pulling Annie and Clarabelle for him. Then later, they came and visited Thomas. Hello, Thomas, said Ryan. Me and Stanley have been taking Annie and Clarabelle for you. Yes, finished Stanley. And Percy said hello. He'd like to come and visit you one day. He hopes that you're doing okay. Aw, how sweet, said Thomas happily. He was happy that he at least had some company. And Stanley, please tell Percy that I'm fine. And he can visit me anytime he wants. And so can you guys. Aw, that's so nice, Thomas. Of course, I will tell Percy that.